Well, when he came in today, stuck his hand out to shake it, and I said, well, you can do that, but I know you're a hugger, because I remember that back when he was in school here. And so I just want to take opportunity for you to see firsthand. I know we've had video with with Landon. There's Landon, Lawson, and Lathan. So with Landon, and the impact that this school has had with Miss Locke as well, that kind of thing. I wanted also to take opportunity to be with us tonight and to answer some of those things as well too. And so, first of all, graduated here 9 years ago, but you weren't, as Landon said, you weren't a lifer, I guess you'd say. Came later on in high school. Tell us when you came and kind of what drew you and your family here to SCA.
So I came to SCA my sophomore year. I knew about SCA since I was little. I actually went to church growing up with Caleb Williams, so the Williams family, Kim and Doug, and the Hines family, Ben and Madonna and BJ, or Ben as he goes by now. So I knew about SCA, grew up in public school, because you don't really think about where you pick to go to school as a child. You just kind of go to school every day. When I was coming out of middle school, the thought crossed my mind of trying out that school that I'd always heard about. They were always talking good things about it. I had met several of their friends because we would hang out together and thought it would be a good chance. It ended up not working out freshman year because I asked them like a couple weeks before school started, so that's not really easy to do, but I kept it in the back of my mind. And I thought it would be a unique opportunity to see a school function differently. They talked about how small the school was, the different types of classes they offered, and I didn't really understand it, but I wanted to know about it. There was just something in me that said, I want to try that out for a year. So I convinced my parents to let me do a trial year my sophomore year. I showed up, that was actually your first year,
Yeah, wow.
So we had our first years together, and fell in love with this school. It was just a bit, we'll talk about this later, there's some other questions directed in terms of what I enjoy, but it convinced me that this is where I wanted to finish my high school career. And so I stayed for my junior and senior year, and once you come, even if you're only here for 3 years, or if you're a lifer, they still welcome you with open arms, and I feel like I'm just as much a part of the SCA family, even 9 years after I've graduated.
And, just the next question here kind of moves right into it. So as far as the academics, friends, teachers, atmosphere, making that transition, what was that like? You've already alluded to the welcoming aspect of it, but just kind of think back, day to day, what made that easy for you? I knew you knew some folks already, but as far as relationship with teachers and things like that.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I actually was lucky enough to have a couple people I knew, so transitioning to friends-wise was very easy. The other downside of coming in late is a lot of these people have been together for years and they know the teachers that they're going to have. So there's a little bit of a learning curve the first couple weeks of knowing who everyone is, because this is it's like a small town where everyone knows everyone, which I love. And so it didn't take me long to learn the faces, even of people who are much younger than me, just because there's so much talking and so much socializing. And then with the teachers, the thing that I really enjoyed about the teachers is this is the first time that I felt like teachers cared more than just about what your grades were. Did you get your homework done? Did you pass the test? All right, let's move on to the next student. This was the first time they felt like the teachers wanted to know who you are as a person, what your interests were, who you were outside of the classroom. Whenever I see teachers now, they still ask me about things that we've talked about 10 years ago. And I feel like that just goes to show how much they care about you. And academically wise, I felt like it was a very smooth transition in terms of coming from a public school. I was at Burns and then transferred into SCA. There was no fall off in terms of what classes I was able to take, and I felt like it was a very smooth transition in terms of how difficult the classes were and what I was able to do.
And that was even 9 years ago.
Yes.
When you think about fast forwarding to now, we've seen that just to continue to improve anyway. What about things outside of academics and friends and things? How about athletics? Were you able to participate in any kind of sports, and what were they?
Yes, I was always in season at SCA. I took advantage of the fact that if you want to play a sport at SCA, you have the opportunity to. So I, in the fall, would play soccer. In the winter, I would play basketball. And in the spring, Coach Arp was kind enough to let me play both tennis and baseball. So I was always doing something every afternoon. So it was a lot of fun.
And we see that's something that's offered here, just being able to have that chance that you may not be able to have, at a bigger school, someplace else. But I kind of wrote this in at the last minute and told him, I gave him a heads up about this. So if we're being nostalgic for a minute, when he's talking about the first year that I was here. I came in '07, so it was the '08 graduating class. So if you think about fast forward into you graduated in 2010, there was an incident. I think it was Super Bowl night. Is this right, Shannon? I think it was Super Bowl night. And I was watching the game. Just bear with me for a minute because this is great. I was watching the game. Some people in here have heard this. Smith may have heard this before, he's laughing. But I was watching the game, and evidently it wasn't very interesting because I was kind of dozing off. And so I was in my recliner, kind of dozing off, and about, not too long into that, I heard, right? And it was somebody outside my house turning my water on, where I'm a good southern person would say, where my hose pipe was, right? You could hear it. And I was waking up, I was like, Shannon, what is that? She was like, I don't hear nothing. I don't hear anything. And, fast forward a few minutes, come to find out, she was in on it. Okay, and what it was, and stop laughing because I think you know something about this. But anyway, you can't say anything. Suit your cufflinks if you want to. But anyway, no. But no. So come to find out, Daniel, if you were here last year, Daniel Bolton, who we interviewed last year, was the main guy behind this. But he had accessories to it, accessories to the fact here from this standpoint. And I think Austin was one of them. Basically, the week prior to this, the low was getting down in like the 15s and the 20s at night. And the plan was to bring a snow machine to my house and put snow all in the front yard and up, in front of the window so that we would think it was a snow day, so I would call them. Of course, what 17-year-old, well, probably all of them think, hey, we can pull this off, right? Not that I won't go look out the back window to see if there's snow on the back deck, from that standpoint. Well, it just so happens that that night the low was like 46. And so they had already rented the machine and this, that, and the other. And so basically what ended up happening was just a whole lot of water on the front of my house and on the front porch and things. And so you didn't have anything to do with that, right?
I knew this was happening.
Okay. This is good. Right.
I absolutely encouraged it.
Okay.
Because whenever you are not involved, but you have a chance to have a snow day,
yes,
you're going to give all the encouragement in the world. And it doesn't take much to convince certain people to try and do something.
Certain people, yes, right.
So I will not name names of who was involved.
But you mentioned two of them already. Daniel and Caleb, I think.
I cannot name people.
Yeah, they were.
But we can both agree that was probably not the worst idea we had in our years here.
It was not the worst idea that you had, no.
So, and if it had been colder, who knows what could have happened, what could have been.
You know how they have like the never seen before footage of things? I was like, we're going to unearth some never known before information tonight as I put you on the spot in front of everybody. But just the kind of family atmosphere we have here at SCA to try to pull one over on the headmaster. The rest of the story, as it is, came in the next day, had my principal make an announcement that they would need to be praying for me because I had stepped out on the front, slipped on the water, and I was in the hospital. And I had a few folks stationed in the rooms where I knew these kids were going to be, and the look on their face was priceless when that went down. So, what goes around comes around, but that's good stuff. So switching gears, getting serious, when did you know you were going to go into the medical field? When did that come about?
So I have been asked that a lot, because as you're interviewing for residency, that's pretty much something everyone's going to ask you. I knew from a very young age. I don't remember when I decided, because for as long as I have memory, I've always wanted to be a doctor, and I'm fortunate enough to have gotten to that point in my life. I say that while also saying I don't think I found my reasoning for why I wanted to be a doctor until I was in medical school. I thought I had all these reasons when I was in college of why I wanted to go in medicine and why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and it wasn't until I actually started working with patients and realized what that type of relationship is like with a patient-doctor of this is why God has called me to be here. I really enjoy talking and listening to people's stories. and being able to converse with them. And the unique thing about a doctor-patient relationship is that people will come in that you've never met before, and they will start telling you things that they wouldn't tell their mom, they wouldn't tell their dad, they wouldn't even tell their significant other sometimes. And being able to have that immediate trust and then being able to give them advice, even if it's just to be there for them in a tough time, where they'll trust you, that's something that I was drawn to, that I can be there for people in their time of need when they need someone.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So how, from 2010 to 14 to 19 to where you're going to go now, how would you say SCA equipped you for that?
So my time at SCA, I was mulling over this question, trying to figure out how I wanted to word it, and I felt like the two things it really helped me with was it gave me perspective and it gave me support. So perspective meaning that when I came to SCA, I had a very different mindset of what education could look like, and SCA showed me a completely different model of a way education could be modeled in a Christian worldview, where you have teachers that pour themselves into you to help you learn, rather than just passing you a book for you to read and saying, learn this. And so it really set the bar high in terms of what I wanted when it came to looking at college, when I came to looking at medical school, in terms of what I was looking for in the type of faculty I worked with, the type of mentors I wanted to work with, because it showed me that I could be more successful if someone was willing to give their time to me. And so that really set the bar in terms of what I wanted going into other schools later on in life. And then support-wise, like we've been talking about, I felt like even though I was only here for 3 years, I felt like I was still just as much as the family. I still get messages from faculty here asking how I'm doing in life. Me and Coach Arp will still see each other a couple times a year just to catch up and talk about life. And it doesn't matter how far out you are, they still want to know how you're doing. They want to know how your Christian walk is going, how life is going, what decisions are you making, how can I be there for you, how can I pray for you. And that really showed you how to look for people later on in life that can be that role for you. Because once you leave SCA and if I'm down in Charleston, I needed someone locally, and it really helped me identify the type of men that I wanted to look for to be a mentor down there, and what type of Bible study I wanted to try to find. So it helped really give you an idea of what to look for when you move on to the next stage of life.
And as we finish up here, briefly, I think Ms. Arledge is going to run a slideshow back here. We got some pictures of the Montana mission trip. You had alluded to keeping connections there with Coach Arp and some other folks here at school. So you were able to go on a mission trip to Montana with Coach Arp, right?
Yes. So this is a slideshow with some pictures. When we went to a Montana mission trip, Coach Arp called me after I graduated college, saying they were going to do a basketball mission trip to a Montana Indian tribe. That's a missionary. Every week they do a different type of sport to keep the kids there involved doing something. So I had an opportunity, along with several other former SCA alumni, to go out there for a week. We loved on them. We did a camp. We played games against some of the older kids and some of the adults. And was just able to minister them and give them an opportunity to do something during the day. During the summer, it was a great opportunity to see somewhere I don't know if I'll ever get to go again, while also connecting with old friends all at the same time. It was a great experience.
Yeah, and I would say too, I dare say even you fast forward through your residency there in Cincinnati, getting into job you're already doing life. Your wife Emma is here tonight, and so we're glad she's here. So you're already kind of doing life and getting that next chapter going. I would dare say through many years to come, those connections are still going to be there as far as school is concerned, friends and coaches and teachers and those types of things. So last question, if you were asked by a prospective family that was thinking about choosing SCA, what would you tell them?
I would say it is, if you have never been to SCA or you never had a kid in SCA, it is a very hard decision to make. I remember when I was talking with my parents the first time when I mentioned it to them, their initial response was just a blanket no. And it took several more conversations. It took me coming to visit the school for a day to try it out. It was a months-long process to convince them. And I would say that I don't think everyone needs to come to SCA, but I think if you come to SCA and you feel like this is where God wants your children to be, that you will not regret the decision you make. I know teachers from 2 years ago while I was at MUSC, I could walk up to them and they might not even know my name. They might recognize my face maybe, but might not know my name. when I walked in here tonight, I graduated 9 years ago, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's getting old, man.
I know. That was the first thing my wife said when she read the program. She's like, 9 years ago, you're old. I was like, thanks. So I walked in, and I'm seeing faces I haven't seen in several years. They all know my name. They immediately walk up, give me a big hug, and it just goes to show that, in my mind, that right there is worth the price of anything, to have that type of support, that type of faculty that cares about you even after you've been gone for 9 years. And that's the type of family and education that I wanted to be a part of. And I hope that others want to be a part of it as well.
Yeah, and everybody here involved in the school already, they're here because they love it. They want to be here tonight to see and hear and celebrate what God's doing from that standpoint. Just wanted to kind of reemphasize, I know from myself as a parent of 3, a graduate already, a senior now, and then a 10th grader, it's just reemphasizing the good decision that was made. And so just wanted to kind of see what your thought process was on that. How can we pray for you real quick, because I want to do that as we finish up.
Yes, so as he mentioned, I am about to start residency in June. So I will start working roughly 60 to 80-hour work weeks. So that will be a stressful new experience. At the same time, being a newlywed, that will be a stressor for me and my wife. We're trying to make it through that. And we're also moving to a new city that we've never been a part of. So just that whole process of trying to move to a new city, get acclimated, while at the same time starting a new job would be, the prayers would be welcomed.
Yeah, that's good. Well, let's pray for you real quick. Lord, we do thank you again for this day that you've given us, the opportunity that we've had so far to celebrate what you're doing here. We do pray for Austin and Emma. Lord, he's not anywhere near as old as I am, because as he mentions those things, it exhausts me just to hear it. But it looks like he's excited. They both are for what the next step would be in their lives. And Lord, that he's already testified that he sees this as an opportunity to make an impact for you in the world. And that's what we try to do on a daily basis. And those that are in this room can testify to that as well. Ultimately, I'm sure that plays a big part into why they're here. And so we give you honor for that, and we give you glory for what you have done already and what you're going to do. And God, to know that you're the vine and we're the branches, and apart from you, we can't do anything. And I know that Austin and Emma would have testified to that as well. So I pray for them to stay close to you, that your Holy Spirit might lead, guide, and direct them. And God, ultimately, the things that be accomplished would be for their good and ultimately for your glory. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, thanks, man.